Good morning, viewers. Hello and welcome to the Morning News Show, where we bring you the latest headlines and insightful stories to kickstart your day. I'm Koina Sharma and you're watching CNN News 18. Let's begin. First up, we are discussing the ongoing tensions between India and Canada on their bilateral grounds. Now, amid the ongoing tension between India and Canada, the Ministry of External Affairs spokesperson Arindam Bagchi, while briefing the media, said that the allegations by the government of Canada are primarily politically driven, citing that there should be parity in strength in mutual diplomatic presence. Now, Mr. Bagchi minced no words and attacked Canada for shielding the terrorists. On halting visa services, he further said that the security threats in Canada led to the suspension of the services that the MEA is reviewing on the resumption of all the services. Now, meanwhile, Canadian PM Justin Trudeau yesterday reasserted the charges against India and said that there are credible reasons for them to believe that government of India linked agents are behind Nijjar's death. He further added that Canada has a rigorous independent law which will take its own course.
Yes, I do think there is a degree of prejudice here, They have made the allegations, they have taken action on them. To us, it seems or it appears that these allegations by the government of Canada are primarily politically driven. आपने देखा होगा कि हमारे जो कनाडा में हाई कमिश्नर और कॉन्सुलेट्स हैं उनको किस तरह के सिक्योरिटी थ्रेट्स वो फेस कर रहे हैं, उसको आप जानते हैं. इससे उनका जो सामान्य कामकाज होता है उसमें बाधा पड़ी है, उसमें डिसरप्शन आई है. इसीलिए हमारी हाई कमीशन और कॉन्सुलेट्स अब टेम्पररीली वीज़ा एप्लीकेशंस नहीं प्रोवाइड कर पा रही हैं. अभी के लिए ये सिक्योरिटी सिचुएशन जो कनाडा में और कैनेडियन गवर्नमेंट की इनएक्शन से रहा है, उसके लिए हम इसको अस्थायी रूप में हम इसको वीज़ा आवेदन का जो प्रोसेस है उसमें बाधा पड़ रही है और इसीलिए हमने उसको अभी उसको स्टॉप कर रखा है. द लार्जर इश्यूज ऑफ टेररिज्म एंड नॉट जस्ट टेररिज्म बट ऑल्सो द फैक्ट दैट इट इज बीइंग फंडेड एंड सपोर्टेड एंड वी नो दिस फॉर सम टाइम फ्रॉम आवर वेस्टर्न नेबर पाकिस्तान, बट the issue of safe havens and places to operate is being provided abroad, including in Canada.
Call upon the government of India to work with us, to take seriously these allegations and to allow justice to follow its course. There are credible reasons to believe that agents of the government of India were involved in the killing of a Canadian on Canadian soil. People come to Canada from every corner of the world, sometimes fleeing regimes that share very different values in various parts of the world than Canada. And when they come to Canada, when they become Canadian citizens, they deserve to be fully protected. And that's something that we have always taken seriously as a country, and we will always look to do even more to keep Canadians safe.
It's a very disappointing development. I don't quite understand why the apparent need on Canada's part to cater to a particular political lobby in that country has resulted in their publicly putting their entire relationship with India in peril. But we now must take steps to ensure that it doesn't deteriorate any further. They are an important trading partner. We have a diaspora population of 1.7 million people, 17 lakh Indians live there, and there are Indian students going there in large numbers. Now there are escalating threats against the safety and security of Indians, Hindu Indians. And I think that once Canada has unleashed this, they should be very conscious of the dangers they're provoking, including, frankly, for importing a kind of extremism that doesn't exist in India anymore in Punjab into their country instead, which is very, very unfortunate.
हम चाहेंगे कि सरकार कल डिस्कशन करा दे, जरा लोकसभा में डिस्कशन हो जाए इसके ऊपर. बहुत अच्छा है, कल एक दिन आखिरी दिन है लोकसभा में, तो करवा दें डिस्कशन. नहीं, सरकार डिस्कशन करवा दे कनाडा के ऊपर, अच्छा रहेगा.
What will happen to the kids? Will they be able to come back? Will they be able to get a visa to go there? And such a panic is not nice. The relationship of both countries needs to be settled at the top level, and I feel the people of the nation should not suffer because of that. Punjabis and Sikhs are the most patriotic people. They have sacrificed and suffered maximum during the independence struggle, and till date they always stand for the nation. As the days are going on, the things are getting worse. The panic is increasing because a lot of lives of Indians and Punjabis and especially Sikhs are connected with Canada and here. Government of India should immediately take up with their counterpart in Government of Canada and settle this issue, because if it goes out of hand, it will affect a lot of Indians and especially Sikhs and people of Punjab.
ये जो निज्जर एंड कंपनी है, ये 10 मोस्ट वांटेड जो गैंगस्टर हैं यहाँ पे, या ड्रग पेडलर है, उनमें से एक था। बाकी 8 वहीं बैठे हुए हैं, छुपा के वहां उनको एक डेन बनी हुई है। तो आगे जैसे पाकिस्तान हुआ करता था, वैसे अब कनाडा ने रूप ले लिया है। और जितना ड्रग पंजाब में है, वो ये 10 गैंगस्टर और ये निज्जर जैसे वहां से ड्रग पंजाब में भेज रहे हैं हमारे नौजवानों को, पंजाबियों को तबाह करने के लिए। और ट्रूडो साहब को इन्होंने गुरुद्वारों के ऊपर कब्जा किया हुआ है। निज्जर एंड कंपनी ने 10 गुरुद्वारे थे जिसको इसने कब्जा किया था, और वहां से जो हमारा चढ़ावा चढ़ता है, वहां पे सारा पैसा वो ट्रूडो की पार्टी को जाता है।
Well, this breaking input is from the sports world, where India's leading female Wushu players from Arunachal Pradesh were scheduled to fly out for the Asian Games in China on Wednesday night, but were unable to do so because were instead forced to stay back in Delhi. They were not able to do so because they didn't receive any clearance required from China and currently are lodged at the Jawaharlal Nehru hostel until the matter is figured out. Now, their accreditation cards reportedly couldn't be downloaded for verification. Remember, back in July, a similar thing also happened where the trio of players from Arunachal Pradesh had been issued stapled visas by the Chinese embassies. Now, joining me on the broadcast is my colleague Siddhant. A very good morning, Siddhant. Well, despite being granted accreditation and the 3 athletes were actually asked to stay back who couldn't download their travel documents, what are the reasons being cited by the Chinese authorities for not granting permission to these athletes?
Well, see, we have managed to speak to a person close to the team, and perhaps we have been told that the 3 female players from the state of Arunachal Pradesh were supposed to be the part of squad, the team which is right now in China to take part in Asiad. But there was an accreditation process, perhaps accreditation facility. So the other team members could download the accreditation successfully, but these team members couldn't download the accreditation, because of which they could not go. Remember, Kuhina, these are the same 3 female players from Arunachal Pradesh, right, who were given stapled visa in the month of July, and because of which Indian government withdrew the full Wushu team from the World International Games. This time around, again, it looks like it's again a matter of visa discrimination that is being done by China. But we would try to get more clarity, or perhaps would try to speak to senior officials in Ministry of External Affairs that what is the exact status, why the accreditation was not, why these 3 players couldn't download the accreditation. Is it related to visa or something else? But right now it looks like the visa discrimination policy of China, because of which the 3 players only from the state of Arunachal Pradesh couldn't take part in the Asiads. Back to you.
All right, thank you so much, Siddhant. This is a developing story. We'll continue to track the details as the day progresses and we get more inputs on this. In the meanwhile, we are moving our focus to the historic moment for Indian democracy, where the Rajya Sabha cleared women's quota bill with 0 votes against the bill. Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, while speaking in the upper house, hailed the passage of the bill and said that it was a golden moment in India's parliamentary journey. PM also thanked all the Rajya Sabha MPs who voted for the bill. Now, meanwhile, BJP Mahila Morcha is organizing a grand welcome for Prime Minister Modi for successfully passing the Women's Reservation Bill in both the houses of the parliament. All BJP women union ministers, Delhi MPs and senior union ministers will be present at the event and the party office today. Now, thousands of women from across Delhi NCR are also expected to participate in this event.
करीब 132 माननीय सदस्यों ने दोनों सदन में मिलाकर के बहुत ही सार्थक चर्चा की है और भविष्य में भी इस चर्चा का एक एक शब्द आने वाली हमारी यात्रा में हम सबको काम आने वाला है और इसलिए हर बात का अपना एक महत्व है, मूल्य है। मैं सभी माननीय सांसदों ने अपनी बात के प्रारंभ में तो पहले ही कहा है कि हम इसका समर्थन करते हैं और इसके लिए मैं सबका हृदय से अभिनंदन करता हूं, हृदय से आभार व्यक्त करता हूं। ये जो स्पिरिट पैदा हुआ है, ये स्पिरिट देश के जन जन में एक नया आत्मविश्वास पैदा करेगा और हम सभी माननीय सांसदों ने और सभी राजनीतिक दलों ने एक बहुत बड़ी अहम भूमिका निभाई है। नारी शक्ति को एक विशेष सम्मान सिर्फ विधेयक पारित होने से मिल रहा है ऐसा नहीं है। इस विधेयक के प्रति देश के सभी राजनीतिक दलों की सकारात्मक सोच होना, ये हमारे देश की नारी शक्ति को एक नई ऊर्जा देने वाली है। ये नए विश्वास के साथ राष्ट्र निर्माण में योगदान देने में नेतृत्व के साथ आगे आएगी। ये अपने आप में भी हमारे उज्जवल भविष्य की गारंटी बनने वाली है। आदरणीय सभापति जी, मैं इस सदन का समय ज्यादा लेता नहीं हूं। मैं सिर्फ जो भावना आपने व्यक्त की है उसके लिए आभार व्यक्त करता हूं और जब मतदान होगा तो मेरा आप सबसे आग्रह है कि ये उच्च सदन है, चर्चा भी उत्तम करने का प्रयास हुआ है। अब मतदान भी सर्वसम्मति से करके हम देश को एक नया विश्वास दें। इसी अपेक्षा के साथ मैं फिर एक बार सबका हृदय से बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद करता हूं।
आप जब से संसदीय कार्य मंत्री बने तब से बिल पे बिल पास किया, आर्टिकल 370 और 60A और महिला सशक्तिकरण वाला बिल।
तो ये माननीय प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी का दूरदर्शिता का जो उनका स्वभाव है, गुण है और संकल्प है, ये दर्शाता है। और मैं सौभाग्यशाली मानता हूँ माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी के आशीर्वाद से ये जब बड़े बड़े बिल पारित हो रहा है तब हम भी संसद में है और ये ऐतिहासिक जो काम हो रहा है, ये ऐतिहासिक काम में हम शामिल हो रहा है, ये तो बहुत बड़े गर्व की बात है।
As a woman, as a parliamentarian, the women's reservation bill, what does this mean to you, Poonam, as you look at for the generations to come?
Because I feel so elated and happy and grateful to Honourable Prime Minister that what he said, he's done it. Most importantly, it's not for our generation, in coming generation, where all the young girls who want to be part of this country's development, take it forward. They will be leading this country, and I'm very happy that they got this opportunity, and with this opportunity, we'll surely push for gender equality very soon.
अर्जुन मेघवाल जी, बहुत बड़ा दिन है सरकार के लिए, महिलाओं के लिए, क्या कहना चाहेंगे आप?
महिला सशक्तिकरण में एक बहुत ही बड़ा हम दिन समझेंगे संसदीय इतिहास में, भारत के संसदीय इतिहास में, कि महिलाओं का रिप्रेजेंटेटिव बढ़ाने के लिए, रिप्रेजेंटेशन बढ़ाने के लिए ये जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन अमेंडमेंट बिल पास हुआ है, नारी शक्ति बंधन, इससे लोकसभा राज्यों की विधानसभाओं में 33% महिलाओं के लिए सीट रिजर्व हो जाएगी। ये बहुत बड़ा कदम है आने वाले समय में।
While CNN News 18's managing editor Zaka Jacob spoke to the Union Minister Smriti Irani on the Women's Reservation Bill. Let's listen in.
As a woman politician, as a woman representative of the people, what does a day like today mean for you? And of course, the fact that you shepherded the bill through the Lok Sabha and now through the Rajya Sabha, and the Modi government has got it done, something that the UP and the Congress were not able to do. It must be particularly satisfying, but just in the overall historical context, what does a day like today mean for you and other women representatives of people?
This is a great day for us. We are jubilant for plenty of reasons. Firstly, there were some people who were of the opinion that we've been waiting for this decision for 27 years. I want to historically contextualize it. When we attained freedom from colonial rule, that is when many a woman, and this is a historical fact, walked up to those who are writing our constitution, that there is a need to constitutionally guarantee and there is a need for affirmative action for women vis-a-vis reservation. At that time, I'm sure these women recognized what was to transpire in the forthcoming years, but their opinion was not heeded to for some reason. Today is a day to pay homage to them. In the year 1971, the then government wanted to create a report on the status of women in the country then, and so that they can prescribe a policy for such women. That committee was constituted. If you look at the 1974 published report of that committee in chapter 7, I'm very grateful that we find a mention of the Bharatiya Janasangh stating emphatically that there is a need to constitutionally guarantee women in our country an opportunity to serve the country as leaders of tomorrow. And when Prime Minister Modi now brings this legislation to this new building, he brings it with a promise that this building will witness history. Who knew that history will be created? The most glorious chapter for women would be written in the first 72 hours. So I think that the fact that this is a legislation which is very well defined constitutionally, is framed so that the process that is to ensue also is brought to light in front of the people of our country. I think that is why today we celebrate not just the possibility, but the affirmation of reservation for women in our country.
But one demand that they had, most of them, was why is there no quota within quota, OBC quota for women of the OBC category, along with SC and ST reserved seats for women in the overall reservation for women. What would be the government's counter to that?
I think that the forked tongue in which the opposition speaks stands exposed. If you look at their proposal during the UP era, that makes absolutely no mention of the OBC community, because even they know there is no constitutional provision as such. There is also no constitutional provision for reservation in the name of religion. That in itself is ultra virus of the constitution. There is a defined space for women in the SC/ST categories and reservation prescribed for them in the bill that Prime Minister Modi has passed in the Lok Sabha, which is waiting passage in the Rajya Sabha. There is also a defined timeline. If you look at the Congress's proposal by Mrs. Sonia Gandhi in page 2, 2B and 3B, you will find shockingly that what Sonia Gandhi had proposed was that women from the SC/ST and other women per se will not receive reservation for 15 years. In fact, she had curtailed the reservation to only 10 years.
While the Women's Reservation Bill is indeed a historic moment in the Indian democracy, but it also has certainly sparked a lively debate on its implementation on various fronts. Now it remains to be seen how these concerns will be addressed. With that, it's time to slip into a very short break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more news and updates on the other side of this segment.
Expended as well, and does this temporary suspension of visas apply to all categories? The Canadian Embassy, we are getting to know from associations, travel associations, that they're still issuing visas.
Who?
The Canadian Embassy. Do we have any clarity whether Canada has also taken reciprocal action and stopped?
Okay. You had, yes ma'am? I'll come to you. Yeah. Go
I'm
ahead.
Amity from Business Line. The Canadian High Commission has said in a statement today that some of its diplomats have been facing threats on various social media platforms, and they have also cited the Vienna Convention and said that they would be expecting the host government to provide security. So will there be a reassessment of the security situation as far as the Canadian High Commission is concerned?
Okay. Let me finish that, sir. Kallol, I'll come to this side then.
Kallol Bhattacharjee from The Hindu. Sir, yesterday the Australian Foreign Minister reminded the issue of rule of law, and they believe that, say, a terrorist should be dealt through that process. So I really want to know what is the current Indian perspective on that.
On rule of law?
When it comes to dealing with terrorism, do you think that rule of law is something that India would follow when dealing with a terrorist or an alleged terrorist who is away from Indian shores and Indian arms of justice?
You want the answer to that?
How would you deal with the Australian Foreign Minister's remarks?
I wouldn't, but I'll give you a response to your query. Reza? I'll come to you, ma'am.
Reza from the Hindustan Times. Just wanted a quick clarification about the advisory we had issued yesterday. It had a very specific mention about politically condoned hate crimes. Are we saying that the Canadians haven't acted with alacrity on hate crimes of this nature?
Okay. Somebody else had a hand up? Yeah. I'll come this side. I think this. Oh, no. You had a hand up. Sorry. Apologies. You had a hand up. Yeah, go ahead. No. Yeah. Okay. You want to do first? Go ahead.
I'm Sunita from Times Now Bharat.
Is the microphone on?
Sunita from Times Now Bharat. सर जो कनाडा में इंडियन स्टूडेंट्स स्टक हैं उनके पेरेंट्स बहुत वरिड हैं यहाँ पे उनके लिए क्या?
Okay. I'll come back to this side. Yeah. Rishabh, I just give you anything, but you did a question. Follow up? Okay. Go ahead.
Sir, follow up from my last question itself. Is there any particular reason for the reduction of numbers of diplomat?
Okay. Yeah.
सर मैं जो वैंकूवर में इंडियन कॉन्सुलेट
इंट्रोड्यूस कर लें हम जस्ट फॉर सिंपल
विजयलक्ष्मी हूँ इंडिया टीवी से सर जो मार्च 2023 में हमला हुआ था भारतीय कॉन्सुलेट पे सैन फ्रांसिस्को में उस पर क्योंकि एनआईए ने 10 एक्यूज की लिस्ट यहाँ पर जारी की है लोगों से जानकारी मांगी है अगस्त में हम
Hello and welcome back. You're watching the morning news on CNN News 18. Well, we have a breaking input. Now, after his India concert was cancelled, singer Shubh has apologized on Instagram. And the singer has posted a statement on his Instagram account. And in the post, Shubh wrote that India is his country too and Punjab is my soul. He also said that every Punjabi should not be named as a separatist or an anti-national. Now remember, Punjabi Canadian rapper Shubh Singh, also known as Shubh famously, is currently facing a significant backlash over a controversial statement that he's made on social media via post. Now this controversy comes at a time when there is diplomatic tension brewing between India and Canada over Canadian PM's statements and alleged allegations against India. Now moving our focus to another breaking input. Now Swiss Parliament has passed the ban against burqa. Now the lower house of Switzerland's parliament on Wednesday passed a law banning burqas in public places. Now the National Council voted 151 against 29 for the legislation, which was already approved by the upper house. Now it was pushed through by the right-wing populist Swiss People's Party despite reservations expressed by the centrists and the Greens. Now with the lower house's approval, Parliament cemented that the ban into federal law and set a fine of up to ₹1,000. Now the measure prohibits covering the nose, mouth and eyes in both public spaces and private buildings accessible to the public. It does allow for some exceptions. Now this is an input on Swiss Parliament banning the burqas. Now the National Council voted as
Switzerland has passed a new law now banning the burqa. The National Council, which is the lower house of the Swiss Parliament, approved that ban in a vote on Wednesday, and that vote was passed by a majority of 151 to 29. The vote now makes the ban a law. It was approved by the upper house earlier. The law was moved by the right-wing Swiss People's Party, and it drew substantial support in the House, and that was despite some opposition from the Greens primarily and also some other groups. Violation of the ban now carries a fine of 1,000 Swiss francs, which is about $1,100 US. The law bans covering of the nose and the mouth and the eyes in public spaces and also in private building spaces often accessed by the public, in a move clearly to project this ban as something not aimed against any particular religious group. It would also cover the use of ski masks and bandanas. The law does not actually name the burqa or the niqab, but the burqa and other such coverings would be allowed within places of worship. This ban, through the course of that campaign, had been opposed in many of the bigger Swiss cities such as Geneva and Zurich, and these are cities that draw a very large number of tourists and significant number from the Arab countries, and there was some apprehension that any such ban would put off visitors and of course the wealth and the money they bring. Opponents in these cities argued that only a very few dozen Muslim women who actually live in Switzerland wear the burqa or the niqab, and by one estimate that number is just about 30. Switzerland now joins France and Belgium, Austria and Denmark among a number of European countries that do now ban the burqa.
Well, that's all from my end. Stay tuned to CNN News 18 for more news and updates. Thanks for watching.